Hello and welcome to another video by our Facebook group Gardening for Beginners. Today we're going to talk about how to overwinter your pepper plants. A lot of folks don't know this, and up until about 6 months ago this included myself, but peppers are actually perennials, which means that at the end of a growing season they don't die. They can last year after year after year, unlike annual plants which will die at the end of the season. If with the proper crop husbandry and the proper pruning and the proper care, you can get an early jump start on your next pepper crop in the season. All you would do is I'm gonna go through the steps on how you can overwinter this plant, and then as it warms up again you can bring them back outside and plant them in the ground with their stalks and probably a few budding leaves intact, so that you don't have to start your pepper season with seeds and with soil, or for a lot of folks going to the hardware store or a nursery and buying transplants. You can just pop these right into the ground and they'll start growing and flowering again, and you'll get peppers a few months early. A lot of folks also report that with overwintered pepper plants, the second season and seasons thereafter, they see a much higher yield and a higher quality harvest out of their peppers. So with that out of the way, just one other thing I'd like to talk about. If you enjoy our videos, please don't forget to like and subscribe to them. You're going to see a little icon down there in the corner. Click on that and it will subscribe to our channel. And if you're interested in joining our Facebook group Gardening for Beginners, I'm also going to include a link at the end of this video for that. With that in mind, let's get our hands dirty. So if you've ever grown roses over the years, some of what I'm going to say is going to sound very familiar to you. That being said, if you haven't, what I'm about to say might terrify you a little bit. I know I'd mentioned we're going to prune them a little bit. We're actually going to trim them down to about 12 to 18 inches. And in one instance, I'm going to uproot it, rinse all the soil off, trim the root ball down, and put fresh soil in it into a smaller pot. Don't freak out, okay? We're doing what the peppers need us to do. They're not really built to handle the winter months in a lot of areas around the world, so we're basically helping them hibernate like bears. But trust me, they're gonna appreciate that at the end of it all, and they're going to reward you with a better harvest next year. I'm using a new video format. I hope we'll be able to see a difference in picture quality for the better. The reason I bring that up is because I only get one shot at this. The pepper plants that I'm going to be pruning today are going to, or overwintering, I'm sorry, that I'm overwintering today, are going to be California Wonder sweet peppers. I've seen a lot of research or a lot of experimenting on overwintering hot peppers, but there's not really a lot of resources out there online about overwintering some of the sweeter varieties of peppers. So that's what I'm going to do today. I'm also going to do it 3 different ways. One way, and I've got another pepper plant, California Wonder, over here that's off camera. I'm not going to do anything to, except I'm going to amend the soil with a slow release fertilizer. It is a 555 granule that I'm just going to sprinkle and work into the surface of the soil, and then I'm also going to mulch the top of it with leaves that have recently fallen from the trees. The next one, which is back over here, you can kind of see it a little bit. All I'm going to do is I'm going to trim it down again to about 12 to 18 inches. I'm going to add slow release fertilizer in here, and then I'm going to mulch that with leaves as well. With the mulching, you want to take it up as high as you can just to keep the plant as warm as you can, especially if you're going to leave it outside. if you're in an area of the world where the temperature during the winter shouldn't get down below 50 degrees, you actually can leave them outside. I'm gonna leave mine outdoors in my greenhouse. I know these guys look a little worse for wear right now, but they've actually survived a freeze. So I'm gonna keep them out here, temperature shouldn't get below 50 degrees. But on the flip side, if it does get colder in your neck of the woods, once you overwinter these and prune them down, you can actually take them indoors, which brings me to the third way that I'm going to do it, which would be the way that you should do it if you're going to take them indoors, whether you have them in a pot or whether you have them in the ground outside. So with this way, I'm going to trim it all the way down again to about 12 to 18 inches. I'm going to amend the soil with the same slow release fertilizer, and I'm going to put some form of mulch. You may not want to mulch this if you're taking it indoors. I don't really think that you need to. Also, what I'm going to be doing is I'm going to be taking this out of the pot, rinsing off the soil, remove about 2/3, maybe about half of the root ball, and then put it in a smaller pot. You would want to use this process if you are planning on taking it indoors, whether you have it outside planted directly in the ground or whether you have it in a pot like this one here. Okay, so I'm going to start with the one where I'm just going to trim it down and amend it with some slow release fertilizer, as well as putting some mulch on top. So, and apologies for the dogs in the background. It's still pretty early morning and people are letting their dogs out and so that they can go use the restroom, and they just want to have a little chat with each other in everybody's yards, I guess. So I like to use gloves when I'm doing this, simply because you know, there's spiders in here and little bugs and creepy crawlies, and I've been bitten by spiders a couple of times. It's not that I freak out about them, it's just to protect myself. But I'm gonna move this guy over here. Whoops. Oh, and I'm gonna take the bamboo out because we won't need this anymore in a minute. Get my trusty rusty garden shears. And the thing that I like to do is I like to cut at a 45-degree angle. Excuse me for a second. Claire, shut up! Shut up! Sorry about that. So what I'm going to do is I like to cut at a 45-degree angle. That's going to do two things. Number one, it's going to help the plant heal a little more quickly, and number two, it's going to protect it from any water, you know, especially if you're going to be keeping it outdoors. When water hits it, it's not going to pool. If you cut it at a horizontal line, that water can pool on top and it can be susceptible to disease and rot and wilt and things like that. You just don't want to mess with that. There's another thing, and here's what I'm going to do. One thing that you want to look for is, you see right there, you've got these little just almost like a bark, these striations right here. You want to look for where that's really thick on the plant itself and cut above it. I cut right here just because it's not very pronounced, and I wanted to show you up close on the camera what that looks like. So you will see that at the base of the plant. You want to look for that and cut above it, okay? Let's see here. You also want to look for, you'll see these little nodules here and there. You're going to want to look to see where those are and save as much of those as you can. So I'm going to cut right there. Get this guy. Another thing, and I don't really see a lot on these right here, if you have any brown branches or anything like that, you can definitely trim those off as well. They're not going to be of any use to the plant. This is a good spot to cut right here. Let me get this guy cut down. This right here. But those little nodules, if you notice, I cut about 1 inch above it. You want to give them just a little bit of room, because as this heals, you might see a little dieback right there. So that just gives them a little bit of room to heal. It looks like I got a pepper that I can have for a little midday snack today. Oh, here's a little brown one. Now that one just came right off. That's not the best example. And there you have it, an overwintered pepper plant right there. All right, so we've got everything pruned down. You'll also want to add that slow release fertilizer in here as well. Normally when I'm fertilizing my peppers, you know, I prefer to use like a 6-12-6, but with a 5-5-5, I mean, you're gonna be okay, simply because you know, I'm okay with going with more of a balanced fertilizer, just because I know their needs are kind of different right now compared to during the growing season. So I've got that. I'm just gonna work this into the soil a little bit. And of course, we can't forget our mulch, which again is only going to be important because I'm keeping this guy outside. I want to make sure that if it gets down, it starts to, you know, flirt with 50 degrees or a little bit below, that it's got a base of material on top to help keep the root system warmer. All right, here we go. And again, you can be pretty liberal with these leaves. And of course you can use other types of mulch. I'm just using this because it's convenient and it's something that I have, you know, free access to. There we go. So this guy's good to go. And you know, I'm also, you know what, I'll do that off camera. The one right here that I'm not gonna, you know, trim down or anything like that. Again, I'm gonna amend that with some slow release fertilizer and just put some leaves on top. I'm doing this because I want to see how effective each different way of overwintering is. You know, and I'll record another video in the future just showing the results. I am going to trim this guy down, and then I'm going to get to trimming down the root ball and rinsing it off and everything. I'm going to do that off camera though. Outside of that, just make sure it gets about 4 hours of sunlight a day. Also, I almost forgot, you really only need to water these guys maybe once every 3 to 4 weeks. Don't let the soil get bone dry, but don't let it stay soggy either. They really don't need a lot of love and affection this time of year. The biggest focus is to make sure that you help get them into energy conservation mode. With that in mind, you know, I started to take all the leaves off and take the fruits off of here. I just wanted to show you what this last one was going to look like, the one that I really just remained untouched. If you enjoyed this video, again, please don't forget to hit the subscribe button, and I will have that link to our Facebook group, Gardening for Beginners, at the end. I'm also going to have a clickable link embedded into the video of our LED video that we recently put out as well. So if you're interested in learning how you can care for these plants by placing them indoors, that video is going to give you some resources that are going to really help you with that. I was going to finish this by spraying a little neem oil on here, but I noticed that there was a garden friend on here. We've got a very white spider that's on here, so I figure the coolest way to close this video out was to get a little shot of him. And of course, thank you for watching, and happy gardening.